Good day, wherever you are in the world. Yours truly, Omar Moore here. Thank you very much indeed for waiting. It's 5 minutes past the hour, wherever you are across the world. Greetings again. Hello, welcome to You ORNS pre-match here on a Saturday before Watford take on Queen's Park Rangers, the first game of the brand new championship season at the Vic, and it will be very exciting to see how Watford come out in this game. I certainly hope that Watford come out well because, of course, as you know, starting is not our strong point on our game so far. Well, that's been true for a number of seasons now. We've not come out of the gate very well. But the bottom line is today is a new opportunity for Watford Football Club against Queen's Park Rangers. Coming into this match, you're going to be seeing this lineup marching out to Z Cars today at the Vic. In the Agil Silvic in goal as ever. The back line, Jeremy Ngake at right back. The centre half pairing of Kevin and James Abankwa. And on the left side, of course, it is Mark Bowler. That is your back line. And then, of course, you've got in the holding midfield area, it is Hector Kyprianou. Yes, Hector Kyprianou is your holding midfielder. And of course, you've also got ahead of him Sissoko and Luza. And then you have that forward line, don't you? And Kayembe also, by the way, is in there. And then you've got that forward line of Iran Kunda. That's right. He will be in action. And then you've got the likes, of course, of Luka Kirimgar, or I should say just Luka, because I think that's probably just easier. And so, look, the bottom line is that Quadro Bar is not starting the game. He is on the bench. So I think Kayembe actually is playing, Sissoko is playing in an advanced position on the right-hand side. You've got Iran Kunda on the left. And then in the middle, you've got Luka. And so that is what it's looking like. Hello, Matt. Hello to you. Greetings. I am well. Thank you very much. Hope you're well, he says to me. Matt does. Matt, thank you. Hope you are well. How are you on this Saturday afternoon at in the United Kingdom or wherever you might be across the world? It's great to have you aboard, Matt. Great to have any Watford fan saying hello. Matt, it's always great to have you here as always. And this is the first one of the season, I think, for you and I. I don't actually, you were here last week as well when we had the audio problems, but I am very confident now, Matt, that you're not going to have any audio problems coming out of here for the remainder of this season. I think I've fixed that. And so I'm pretty confident that's not going to be an issue anymore, Matt. But thank you. Of course, we'll be doing this after the game as well, directly after the final whistle here on You ORNS post-match at You ORNS WFC here on YouTube. As always, remember to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to this channel, your channel for Watford information, conversation, and analysis here on You ORNS WFC. And Watford FC, of course, You ORNS Watford FC, You ORNS WFC is the place to be and to subscribe. Thank you so very much. Of course, there is a Substack channel now as well. It's youornswfc1.substack.com. I've got some articles that I will be posting today, at least 2 or 3 of them because I've fallen a bit behind, but I am definitely writing up a storm there. And you'll see that very, very soon. And also some live video to come as well from there. So please subscribe to that channel as well. There's You ORNS WFC #1, the number 1. So it's You ORNS WFC, the number 1.substack.com. Really would appreciate that as well. And of course, you can also make sure that you listen to the You ORNS 10-minute take that I do as well on game days after the game. And of course, the podcast You ORNS on Apple and Spotify. Well, I've given you the starting lineup, and I did not give you the lineup coming off the bench today for the Golden Boys. The substitutes, Nathan Baxter, the goalkeeper, Max Alain, he is coming off the bench, as is Tom Ince, Rocco Vata. That's a great bit of news. He is back, as we expected he would be. That was what Watford were saying this week, that he was coming back and he would be in contention for the squad, which he is. Great to see him back. Vivian Semedo, I think his name is Vivaldo Semedo. Semedo off the bench as well. He looked pretty lively in the second half of the game midweek against Norwich in the Cup. And then there's Doumbia coming off the bench as well. Mamadou Doumbia coming off the bench. Tom Deli Bashiru coming off the bench as well. And then Barr, as I've said earlier, Quadwell Barr and Ryan Andrews. Now, for my money, and we still have, 2 more weeks of the transfer deadline window coming until it shuts on September the 1st. For my money, I think that Ryan Andrews is going to probably, if there is a move for another right back, which I think there needs to be, I think Ryan Andrews might well end up being loaned out. He has not really been a superstar. I shouldn't put that on him, but he hasn't arrived in the way he did a couple of seasons ago when I thought he was absolute gold at Watford. Last season was a down year for him. This season, look, it's an early doors situation, small sample size, but he has not really come out of the gate firing on cylinders yet. And look, it's going to take some time for all of these lads to do that the way that the manager and the way the fans will like to see it. But Ryan Andrews was not good on Tuesday night against Norwich. He didn't play at all, remember, against Charlton, didn't come off the bench, didn't see any action at all. He's not injured, obviously. Otherwise, he'd be playing these games and he'd be starting some of the games probably. But the bottom line is for every Watford supporter out there, and there are a few who don't like Jeremy Ngakia, I heard from them this week. Jeremy Ngakia is far better than Ryan Andrews. Let's be fair. He does more of the game better than Ryan Andrews does. He may not score as many goals as Ryan Andrews, and Ryan Andrews doesn't score very many himself. But Jeremy Ngakia gets into the advanced positions on the pitch and seems to be more comfortable doing that. He'll have a go. Ryan Andrews, I had a real complaint about him last season, not trying to get past his own man. Jeremy Ngakia is unafraid to do that. He's unafraid to make mistakes too. And yes, he made a mistake last week against Charlton. He could easily have been given a penalty against him for that. But at least Jeremy Ngakia is trying out there. At least he looks like he's up for it. Ryan Andrews, to me, the body language doesn't sit well. And so anyway, that's something that I'm concerned about. We'll keep our eye on Ryan Andrews. Let's hope that he improves and does the things that we know he's capable of doing, because I missed that from him. Not seen that from him at all in the last season or so. Let's hope he gets kick-started today if he comes on against a QPR side that are going to be tricky. QPR come into this game, fellow Watford supporters, having lost during midweek in the Cup to Plymouth. They lost 3-2 to Tom Cleverley's lot at home park there in Plymouth. They also had a 1-1 draw prior to that in the Championship against Preston North End. That was at Loftus Road. QPR coming to this game having been unbeaten against Watford in their last 3 or 4. And the bottom line is the last time we beat Watford was a 2-1 away win at Loftus Road a couple of seasons ago. You might remember that was Jake Livermore, our old friend, who scored twice for the Golden Boys in that contest. And before that, in that same season, the very start of the season for Watford 2 seasons ago, it was that 4-0 win that we had over QPR, where QPR were blitzed by us, TDB scoring after just 33 seconds. And you might remember that one from 4 years ago, from a couple of seasons back. Those are the last 2 wins we've had against QPR. Ever since then, we've not been able to get QPR at all. And we've had some tricky games against them. Even before the games we last won against them, we've had some tricky contests. We lost at home to them. A few seasons before, we had a 0-0 draw against them last season at the Vic. That was in November of last season, and we also had the defeat to them. I think it was 1-0 or 2-0, 3-0 defeat to them around the New Year's Day. On New Year's Day, I think it was, we lost 3-0 to them, or thereabouts. New Year's Day of this year. So we have not fared well in recent seasons against Queen's Park Rangers. And QPR come into this game with a new striker on their billing. Ricardo Kone was signed in the midweek of this week, and he looks like a real prospect. He looks really good, 22 years old. He scored 21 goals last season for Wycombe Wanderers. He can hold up play. He can get down the wings. He can get up in the middle. He can find spaces. He's a very dynamic, fluid striker. He's somebody that Watford are going to have to watch out for today. We're going to have to really watch out for people like him. Their best defender, however, got injured during training this week, tore his ACL, will be out for the season, having surgery. Larkeshi is one of their top defenders. He got hurt during training. So we won't have to be dealing with Larkeshi in their defense. Now, of course, look, you never want to see anyone injured, even if they are on the opposing side. So I do wish Larkeshi a Ziad Larkeshi a speedy recovery from that point of view. But Watford will not have to worry about him, obviously, in this game because he is out with an ACL injury, torn ACL, which is usually a season-ending injury. So he won't be back this season for them, which is really unfortunate for QPR. But of course, for us, we are not going to have to worry about Larkesh today for Queen's Park Rangers. For Watford, our defense, I don't think the defense this season has been too bad. I know that seems counterintuitive because we gave up 2 goals against Norwich. We gave up the goal against Charlton. I think that's more about getting used to the head coach Pezzo's setups, but still, the same defensive mistakes were made under Tom Cleverley last season as they're being made now. So I don't know. Maybe I should overwrite what I've just said because I don't think necessarily it is the problem of look, a new manager structures. Defending is defending no matter who it is that you're managing, that you're playing for as a player. So the bottom line is that Watford today have to get on board and defend carefully and defend adroitly. Too many defensive mistakes that we've made over the seasons. And let's hope, of course, that we don't make any more of those as far as today is concerned, because it is very important that Watford start this game out with purpose, start the game well, start the game with energy, which we've lacked over the last God knows how long. We need to be an energetic force out there. And Watford, I hope, will do that. Look, we are now just under 45 minutes away from kickoff, and we didn't start the game well on Tuesday night in the cup against Norwich, and now we have to start the game out well against Queen's Park Rangers. Both teams coming off a defeat, so that obviously is going to be something to watch out for. Watford, I think, if they're going to win this game today, they're going to have to score early in the game. I think get the crowd into the game, settle your players down, get that early goal. And if Watford can get the early goal, I think they've got a very good chance. Now, Queen's Park Rangers are going to be very difficult. They're pretty much they're West London side. So in some ways, it's a local derby, for lack of a better term. I do hesitate to use the word derby between Watford and Queen's Park Rangers because it's really not one. But they are local. They're local to Watford. They're only, 30 miles or so, 25 miles or so away from each other. So, I mean, it's fairly a local game in that way. But, of course, it's not the same, of course, as that lot up the road, who we don't have to worry about this season, which is really good. But Watford take on QPR today, just under 45 minutes away from kickoff. And, again, you've got to start out well. You've got to start out on the front foot. You've got to start out with some confidence. You've got to start out with some energy. I want to see some energy and intensity from the lads today from the very start of this contest. I want to see them get up and at it today. And I don't really at all want to see anything that resembles a start that we had against the likes of Norwich, because if we start like that today against Queen's Park Rangers in just under 45 minutes time, it's going to be a long day for us. Now, for my money, I would love to ask you what your predictions are going to be on this game. I gave mine yesterday in the Friday Focus. I had a draw between Watford and Queen's Park Rangers. I predict a draw today, and it was a 1-1 scoreline. Specifically, I gave a 1-1 prediction. But anyway, in any case, whatever the score, I predict a draw today between Watford and QPR. I think Watford pick up their first point of the season in this game at Vicarage Road, get themselves on the board after the game against Charlton, which they lost 1-0. Watford defended in that game fairly well, although Charlton got in behind us on a number of occasions, but Watford were very stout defensively, I thought, even though we made some mistakes and even though we gave up a really poor conceded goal there late on. The same problems, of course, as I said earlier, happened against Norwich. And look, we've got to close down players. That's what our defending has to be about. We've got to close down space, close down defending players, attacking players, close down runners around the box. Watch your runners around the box, stay with them, and focus on your runners. I mean, you've got to focus on the ball, but you've really got to focus on those players who are just running around now. Matt on YouTube says, I'm doing well, thank you. But as you said, we need a strong start because I don't think I can handle this season if our first half performance matches last season. That's the concern, isn't it? It's going to be a long season, if Watford continue to do what they've been doing in terms of poor starts to games. You would think that Watford being at home would galvanize them and encourage them to start the game well in front of their home fans. You would think that. But that has not been the case at Vicarage Road for a long time. We've seen this in a number of games over a number of seasons with a number of managers. The last time I can remember this not being the case was some of the games we had in the Premier League in 2021 and 22 season. The first game against Aston Villa, where we started really like a house on fire. Some of these games we've started really well when we were back in the Premier League. That's 3-4 seasons ago. Now, since we've come back into the Championship from the season that we got relegated, that was the 2021-22 season. At the end of that season, we have had again a problem of not starting the games correctly. And even some of the Premier League games we didn't start right. But this problem's been around for a long, long time. So we'll see how it goes, Matt. Matt also predicts, his score prediction is 2-1 Watford today. We shall see. I do hope you're correct, Matt. You've had a decent track record on and off with a lot of these predictions. In fact, been pretty darn good. I was really on it last season when I made predictions. I was right more than 75% of the time. So we'll see if the prediction that you've made with a 2-1 Watford victory comes out to be the case. I certainly hope it is, Matt. I'm going, as you know, and as people say, with a 1-1 scoreline as far as today's game is concerned. Philip Mason has joined us today on the YOU ORNS Watford FC pre-match. Hello, Philip. Good to see you. Philip Mason has chimed in, and Philip says this: I'm surprised that Kayembe starts after his lethargic showing against Norwich. I am too in some ways, but I think, Philip, the reason why Kayembe is starting today is because you've got the likes of Quadro Bar missing from the game. He is going to be on the bench. I think that's precautionary. Remember, Quadro Bar played in the second half of the game, and I think that what you wanted from Bar, maybe Bar picked up a knock, maybe he did, maybe they just wants to keep him on the bench and bring him off the bench because he loved what he saw from him, and didn't we all love what we saw from Bar when he came off the bench? Kayembe, yeah, he was not great on Tuesday. Didn't really distinguish himself against Norwich on Tuesday, did he, Philip? I mean, I do agree with you. I do think part of the calculus as for why he is being started this today is because he wants to build up Kayembe's minutes. Remember, Kayembe did not start the game. I don't remember him starting against Charlton. If he did, I'm mistaken, but I don't remember him even starting in Charlton. I don't even remember him being on the bench against Charlton, quite frankly. I think he did come into the game against Charlton, so that's not true. He came off the bench against Charlton. I now remember that, Philip. So I know that Kayembe did come into that game, didn't really distinguish himself very well, as far as I'm concerned. I think he just wants to build up Kayembe's minutes and have him start. Maybe perhaps Pezzo wants Kayembe as part of his plans for starting games. And so I think he's willing to give him a chance, and I think that's what's happened here. I also do think it has something to do with Bar coming on, being on the bench, TDB being on the bench as well. Different positions, I understand that. But I think what Pezzo wants is versatility out of all of his players. Them being able to do a lot of different things, them being able to be in different areas of the pitch and play different positions during a game, which, of course, is not unique to Pezzo at Vicarage Road, of course, but it's something I think that he likes, and he sees Kayembe as a versatile player. Now, I agree with him. I do see Kayembe as a versatile player. He can play in the front line. He was played in the front line, I think, once or twice last season. He can be an advancing midfielder, attacking midfielder. He can drop back and be a holder at times. I've seen him used that way. Against Charlton, it seemed like he was like being that. He can play in the midfield. He can play in advanced positions. So I think, Philip, that's what's happening with Kayembe. And to be fair, small sample size. He didn't distinguish himself against Charlton. and he really didn't do very much at all against Norwich at all. And so I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Didn't show up, did he? Didn't turn up. But I do think that Pezzo has a plan with him to utilize him as a starter. And so I think this is the first test of that today. We'll see, Philip, if indeed it pays off and if Kayembe grows into it. We saw quotes from Kayembe during the week talking about that he can't wait for the season to come along. And he said that last week, I should say. And that he really he calls this a big season for himself. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it is. Now, he did score, what, 8 goals last season, Kayembe? Something like that? 7 or 8, whatever it was. But Kayembe, I think, can add something. We'll give him a chance today and see how he goes, Philip. Thank you for the comment. He adds, does Philip Mason, unlike last season, we do have great impact subs to come on. Yes, we do. How many times did we talk about the lack of a squad that we had last season? How many times did we talk about how thin the squad was last season? Well, we don't see that anymore around here, as we know that the owner, Gino Pozzo, has put paid to all of that with a really strong, robust summer signing window, one that we as Watford supporters can all be proud of. And of course, he's not done yet, as you know, as everybody knows. Vodrich, or whatever his name is, I've got to remember his name, is coming in as a midfielder on a permanent basis from Udinese. That was what the Watford Observer reported yesterday. I'll get his name right in a few moments because I really do want to get his name correct. Sandy Lovric. I keep saying Vodrich. Sandy Lovric, a midfielder, will be joining Watford coming up in the next, God knows when, but it'll be obviously before September, by September 1st. And so he's coming in on a permanent deal. That was reported yesterday by the Watford Observer. And a deal for a centre back is also expected to take place. That's also reported by the Watford Observer. I think it's Adam Drury who now does the honours there at the Watford Observer as the resident Watford FC reporter for the Watford Observer. And so that's the information that he has reported in the last 24 hours. So there's going to be definitely another midfielder coming in here, which, Philip, I definitely think that we need. We need an additional midfielder. TDB has not shown up yet for us, and we need to fortify that midfield anyway, even if TDB had been showing up in these games. I know it's early doors yet, but we needed another midfielder anyway. I know Georgie's out. He's still trying to come back from that bone injury in his foot, in his toe. And so, that's something that's still a few weeks away. Pierre Duoma out injured as well. He has I think a thigh injury that he has. He's still trying to work his way back from that, and he should be back hopefully in the near future. So it's very, very it's a very, very tricky endeavor. We need to bring in players, and I'm glad that the owner understands that. And the owner has been very, very good in this window, and I do give him a lot of credit for that. So well done, Gino. And certainly, when you give Watford fans something to have hope around coming into a new season, it's always really good to know that that the owner actually is going for it, and he is going for it this season. He's going for playoff spot. He's going for promotion. He's going for the lot. And so I'm very excited about what the season could be. I know some people go talking about how young these lads are, but look, Watford have to get younger anyway, and they still are some veterans around the place. So I'm happy with that. Kipriano is the best signing for me in this window, says Philip. And I would like to ask anyone else, who is your best signing coming in so far from me for yourselves in this window? Who is the player that you think is the best signing? I'm going to go with Iran Kunda. I think he's been terrific so far. He's only 19 years old. My goodness, what an upside he's got. And Kipriano's young as well. He's only like 21, 22, younger maybe. But for me, it's Iran Kunda. He has been absolutely fabulous so far for Watford. Did well on Tuesday night, was very good there. I think showed some promise against Charlton as well. Looked good. But yes, definitely can understand a lot of people loving Hector the Protector, as some Watford fans have been calling him, and he's done a decent job so far. So, Philip, thank you for your comment, as always. And Matt says, plus Bar also had that slip during the Charlton game, so maybe they want to be careful that he doesn't injure himself in the same way that put him out of action for a long time last season. Yeah, Barr, and speaking of Barr, I think that's very true. Barr, remember, did take that slip against Charlton, as Matt mentioned, and he was down on the ground in that game when he took that slip for at least 3 or 4 minutes, and we're all wondering as Watford supporters, has he injured himself? But it turned out that he just took a knock or something, and he was able to play on through the rest of the half. And then in the second half, he played and then got subbed off. And I'm sure that was precautionary. He was used as a starter in the game. Excuse me, he was used coming off the bench, pardon me, in the game against Norwich in the Carabao Cup during midweek, and looked really great. He scored the goal, of course, to try to cut the deficit for us, but we couldn't get all the way back to force it to penalties. So I definitely think that Boss being on the bench is just precautionary. I also think it is because of what happened on Tuesday night, where he was really good coming off the bench, and maybe the manager wants to see how that plays out. As Philip said earlier, impact subs, we have them now in abundance. We have players who can make a difference. We saw that in real stark relief on Tuesday, didn't we? Impact players coming off the bench making a big difference. Oh my goodness, did those subs. Loser was one of those subs. So was, of course, Barr as well. They made a huge difference. There was one other player who's now forgetting for a brief minute in that triple substitution who made an astonishing difference. And so Watford looked really good in that second half. But we need to carry what we did in that second half against Norwich onto the pitch today in just under half an hour. You're watching the You ORNS Watford FC pre-match. That's right, You ORNS Watford FC pre-match here live on YouTube. It's so great to have you aboard. Thank you so very much indeed, as Watford open their home campaign in the Championship with this game today against Queen's Park Rangers. A local game, really, if you will, because QPR only have to travel about 25 miles to get here to take on Watford FC. So it's going to be a really quick trip for QPR to come in here. And of course, Watford at home didn't have to leave the building, of course, since Tuesday. So there's been a lot of training sessions, I'm sure. And it'll be good to have Georgie back. He's trying to get back as quickly as possible. Matty Pollock trying to get back before the international break, which I'd be very impressed with, because I don't think he's going to get back before the international. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I think he's going to probably be back after the international break from that hamstring injury, but he's fighting to get back before that. That's the tribute. That's the tribute to a lad like that, and all these lads who work so hard. Bob, remember, coming into the training camp, to the preseason, a good week before everybody else. That's commitment. That is desire. That is someone who wants to get up and at it. And so far, Bob, off of a game where he really didn't do a whole lot against Charlton, except for those early forays in the first half, but really showed you who he is in the game against Norwich. That's what you want to see from your players. You want to see that kind of desire, that hunger, that loyalty, that commitment. That's what you got from Barr coming into training camp a week before everybody else. That's what you love to see. And you love to see Matty Pollock trying to get back ahead of schedule, before the international break, which will be in a couple of weeks' time. That's what you want to see. You want to see that kind of thing. 2 or 3 weeks from now is the international break. I think it is the first weekend of September or thereabouts. But you want to see that from your lads. And so you want to see that commitment, not only in trying to come back from injury, not only in getting into training camp a week before it begins, a week before everybody else, but you want to see that commitment in today's game against Queen's Park Rangers. We want to see that desire, that intensity, and that energy. And I think the way to tell if Watford are up and at it in this game today is the first 10 minutes of the game. The first 10 minutes of the game will tell us whether Watford are up and at it, or whether Watford are doing the things that they did in the first half against Norwich City. We will see. Now, Watford against Charlton first half, I don't think it was terrible. They just, look, Charlton were always going to have a go at us in that first game of the season in front of their home crowd, and their first game back in the Championship. They were always going to have a go. Watford, I think, weathered that storm, weathered that pressure, weathered that storm really well. And then they were able to slowly make some inroads in that first half, but they just didn't do enough. That was the thing. It's not like they came out with low energy. They just didn't have enough attacking on that goal. And the bottom line is that really was the case throughout the game. And against Norwich, poor start, low energy, no energy. Second half, much better, more intensity attacking the goal. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to keep going with our attacks. One of the things we have to do in terms of also getting out there and being energetic and coming out with intensity and real intent and real purpose is to attack the goal. You know, give their goalkeeper something to think about. Make that goalkeeper work for his wages. The big criticism about our lads in a number of years is that we've not given the opposing goalkeeper any work to do. We've not made him busy. We've not kept him busy. We've not made him earn his wage for the day, right? We today, if Watford are going to win this game, we're going to have to keep the goalkeeper busy. That's the QPR goalkeeper, right? The headline cannot be that Agil Selvik made 15 saves, 10 saves, 20 saves, was our most busy player. We cannot have a headline today that says that Agil Selvik was the best player on the pitch for us. Because if we have that kind of headline, that means we're going to lose the game. Because Agil Selvik was the busiest player on the pitch against Charlton last Saturday. And that cannot be what we see today. We have to make the QPR goalkeeper the busiest player on the pitch at the Vic today. That's what we have to do. If we don't trouble their goalkeeper, we're not winning the game. That I will tell you. Doesn't mean we're going to lose the game. But if we do not trouble the goalkeeper, we will not win this game today. So look for that, especially in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game. How much of an attack are we putting on that goal? How many shots are we putting on that goal? We can't have another half where we've got one shot on target or no shots on target. We can't have that kind of football. If we want to win this game today, we're going to have at least 3 or 4 or 5 shots on target in the first half. Now, listen, still got a whole second half to play, but we have to attack the goal. Keep that goalkeeper busy in that QPR goal. That is what we have to do today. If we don't do that, to me, we will not win this game. That's why, listen, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Whatever the draw, I think it's going to be a draw today. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Matt, with his prediction, is much more accurate than I am with the prediction today. We'll see. But those are the key things that prevent me from saying that we're going to win the game today. I would love the lads to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here wishing that they don't. I want them to get that 3 points off the on the bag, on the board rather. And if we can put those 3 points in the bag, then let's make it today, please. Let's not wait any longer. It's one game that we played against Charlton last week. We had the loss against Norwich. This week, let's make it a win, shall we? Come on, let's do that today. Although I do think that it's going to end up being a draw. QPR cannot be taken lightly. They got a new manager there, as do we. They've got new players in their side, a number of them, as do we. So look, QPR are going to want to prove something at Vicarage Road. They have played well at Vicarage Road over the last 2 seasons. And we've got to assert ourselves today. We are just over 20 minutes away from kickoff at Vicarage Road, the first home game in the championship for us this season, in this brand new season. Game number 2 on the season for your Golden Boys in the championship. Matt has said this: one thing I am happy about is Bachmann going on loan, because how long have some of us been saying he needs a loan spell? Let's see how he does while he's gone on loan. Absolutely, Matt. Very good from you as ever. Yeah, I'm happy about it too. And when I say I'm happy, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, Matt, when I say I'm happy about it, I'm not saying it as thank God he's out of here. That's not what I mean. I'm happy about him being on loan because I think he needs a new lease on life. I really do. I think sometimes when you are too familiar with a club and you end up becoming part of the furniture. And in some ways, to me, Daniel Bachmann as a footballer has become a part of the furniture at the Vic. Look, he's had his moments of glory here. He has saved us so many games for us. He's probably earned us about 25 points over his time here at Vic. Um, but the bottom line is that he is not as good a goalkeeper as he once was. He is not as good a goalkeeper as Agil Selvik. He is not the leader on the pitch that he had been at times. And then the captaincy got taken away from him after those red cards that he suffered. His temperament has not always been good, and that has cost him in his Watford career. And he's made a number of mistakes more recently. And I don't think he commands his area as a goalkeeper as well as he could. I've had some criticisms about him on that, but he is a really good person. I think he's someone who is still a good goalkeeper who can offer something elsewhere. And I think the perfect place for him is Deportivo La Coruña in Spain. He needs, I think, a change of scenery. I think he needs to get out of the Vic for a while and get out there into the rarefied air and into a nicer climate, a warmer climate, I should say, in Spain. Oh boy, that will clear your head going to Spain. I really think so. But I do not think that he will kick another football for Watford. Ever since the injury at the beginning of the season, again, beginning of this calendar year against Sheffield United, remember that one from last season that was during this calendar year, a horrible injury right at the end of that game, and he had not kicked a football for Watford in any really meaningful way since then. And I think that's just going to be the way it stays. I think that the club is letting him down gently rather than saying, adios, you're out of here, you're gone, good riddance, goodbye. The club is doing the more diplomatic thing with a long-serving player like Bachmann, which is to let him down gently, in my view, and have him go on loan. Let him get a change of scenery, which will do him the world of good coming off of this injury. And what they'll end up doing, in my view, is at the end of this season, they will probably say goodbye to him, but they'll probably do it at the beginning of next season, give him the appropriate send-off that way on social media, and they will say, thank you, Dan Bachmann, for all you've done. Wishing you the best of luck in your career the rest of the way. That's what I think the club's going to do next season. I told you they would do that with Rajovic, which they did when Tom Cleverley at this time last season said, oh, we're loaning him out, but we have plans for him to come back and be a key part of Watford when he comes back. And I told you then, here, there, and everywhere, that he was not going to ever play again for Watford, Rajovic. And I was correct. Now, I know Tom Cleverley is no longer here either, but I knew that he was not going to come back and play for Watford, and he didn't. And I think the exact same thing, pardon me, is going to happen with Daniel Bachmann. I think he is absolutely going to end up not kicking another football. He will be gone from Watford at the beginning of next season. That I am guaranteeing. I won't guarantee it, but I will predict it here. I predicted it on a number of occasions already, and I think I'll do that again here once again. So that's the position I take on Daniel Bachmann. I do wish him very well. I really do. I say that really sincerely. I wish him all the very best at Deportivo La Coruña. Wishing him better, and I'll be looking into his career, looking in occasionally to see what he does at Deportivo, because I think he can still do some things. I think he's still very useful. He remains a useful goalkeeper. I just think that his goalkeeping game overall needs to improve. So let's look and see how Dan does. Dan the man in Deportivo La Coruña in Spain. That will be really a good place for him, and let's see how he does. Hope he gets on well there. And then Matt says, maybe with the change of club for a bit, he may learn something as a goalkeeper he hasn't learned while being at Watford, says Matt, or other English clubs. Yeah, I think that, Matt, I agree with you. I think he needs to learn a bit more about the goalkeeping situation. I just think he needs to improve more. I don't want to go on and on about Bachmann and his goalkeeping. But I do think he just needs to improve that. There's a number of areas which he can improve in. It's never too late for any of us to improve in life, no matter what area that is. And so for Daniel Bachmann, who's a really stand-up guy, good stand-up bloke, good person, he is a good person, and he cares. He does care about the game. He's a tough competitor. I think he's tough on himself. He's his own biggest critic, but he's also somebody, I think, who is a good person at his core. Pardon me. And so I'm looking forward to seeing Dane Batman excel elsewhere, but I do not think that Watford is going to be the place for him. And I would like to see him grow in his game, improve his game, and be a contributor for someone else who I think could really benefit from him once he improves. And I think Watford are moving on from him as well. I just think that's going to happen. So listen, I will wish him all the very best, and I do wish him all the best at Deportivo. And after that, I think Watford next season will say goodbye to him. That's the way the club does things a lot of the times. They don't, especially players who've been around forever, they don't just dump them. Now, there are some players they have done that with, but if someone like Dane Batman, who's been around for 2 Premier League promotions, I think, or at least 1 Premier League promotion, um, he's been around for 7 or 8 years at the Vic at least now. He had that long-term contract, which obviously was something that didn't work. I think that was a mistake from the front office. And so what they're going to do is probably end up restructuring and buying out the contract, whatever. And then they'll say goodbye to him. Adios. Buenos noches, if you will, to him at the end of this season or at the beginning of next. I think that's what's going to happen for Dan Backman. So we'll see about that. So we're just under 15 minutes away now from kickoff at the Vic between Watford and Queen's Park Rangers, the first home match of the season for Watford at the championship level at Vicarage Road. So it's the home opener in the championship for your Golden Boys today. I am very excited about the game. It will be a really good game, good entertainment, I think. Watford need to be energetic. I have a funny feeling that they are going to be a lot more energetic coming out of the gates today than they were in the last game of the Vic and against Charlton. So let's look out for that. Watford, again, to recap, must have a good start, must get out the traps well, must attack the QPR goal and keep their goalkeeper busy. If they can do that, then I think we'll be on to something today. Perhaps a win, but as I've predicted, a 1-1 draw. Brown Electrons, well done, returning here. Brown Electrons, it's nice to see you back in the building. Welcome, Brown, to a brand new season here on You ORNS, Watford FC pre-match. We'll be doing the post-match as well. Great to have Brown back as well. Hello, Brown. Come on, You ORNS, he says. Thank you very much. Come on, you Hornets. Absolutely. Thank you, Brown, for that. Good to see you back here. Welcome to the new Watford season as well. It's going to be one with ups and downs as ever, but I do predict, and I've said this here before, that Watford will make the playoffs. That's my prediction. I don't know how far they're going to go. I'm not making any predictions about that. All I'm predicting, and I predicted this before the season began, is a playoff berth for Watford. And look, Watford have a lot of work to do still. This side is still coming into shape. I know that as fans, because we have such a great window that we've had over the last few weeks in the summer window, we're all excited and eager to see this lot click immediately. We want to see them click and gel immediately. We have high expectations with the signings that we've got. And so we are going to naturally put a lot of pressure on the lads because we want to see results. Now, fans at heart, whether they've got loads of new players in or not, when a new season begins, wants to see the team really excel quickly. And if the team doesn't get off to a good start, a lot of fans in any club usually start to get very skeptical, start to get a little bit pessimistic early on. But look, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? It is important to start well when you're starting a new season. But as I say in sports, at least in sports, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, especially in the game of football, especially in the championship, especially with Watford Football Club. And so, yes, we've seen teams get promoted or get into the playoffs who started poorly. Sheffield United didn't have well, actually, that's not true, Sheffield United, but there was one or two teams who made the playoffs last season who didn't have good starts to their seasons. Bristol City didn't have an especially good start to their season last season, but they ended up making the playoffs. I mean, albeit they got knocked out, but the bottom line is Bristol City did not have a great start to their season last season. And there's a million teams who end up making the playoffs or even end up getting promoted who did not have great starts to their seasons. So just because Watford lost the game at Charlton, I forget the cup game, I'm not including the Norwich game. Just because they lost the game at Charlton, it doesn't mean that their promotion aspirations or their playoff aspirations have been dented by a defeat. Even if they were to lose, God forbid, today against QPR, it doesn't mean that their run for a playoff spot or a promotion spot's over. It's only game number 2. So no matter what happens today, there's still a lot of upside. I tell you why I say that. Well, I tell you, I know well, I said that for the reasons I did. But look, the game on Tuesday in the first half was terrible, right? But I took great heart and encouragement out of the second half of the game against Norwich on Tuesday. And if Watford can bring that second half of the game from Tuesday night into today in the first half and the second half, I think we're going to be all right. But no need to panic, no time to panic. Early doors, we're still getting new players in. We're still getting a present group of players to gel with each other, let alone to understand what it is the manager wants, right? So the gaffer wants a certain style of play, which I like his style of play so far. Spreading the pitch, spraying the balls around, doing it with purpose, attacking, trying to attack, although they've not done enough of that yet. I want to see a lot more out of Luca, our number 9, our new number 9. I know it's early doors, but Luca has got to get active today a lot more than he did against Charlton. He didn't really factor in too much in the game on Tuesday when he came off the bench, but Luca has got to get himself in and about it today. You're at home again. This time it's against QPR. It is in the championship. I want to see Luca really run around and make himself heard from today. Make that goalkeeper work. I want all these players to make that QPR goalkeeper work. I don't want to see any more team sheet stats that say that we've got 1 shot on target for the entire game or no shots on target for the entire game. Can't happen. We've got to attack the goalkeeper and make him work for his wages today. That's what the storyline's got to be. We have got to attack their goalkeeper. We've got to attack their goal. And if we are not doing that in the first 20 minutes of the game, it's going to be a long day. I really think so. If we are not showing that attacking spirit and that fight and that relentlessness and that toughness and that absolute fire that we showed in a lot of the second half against Norwich, this is going to be another game where we're looking at perhaps either a draw or a defeat. Because all it takes is one counter attack, doesn't it? On either side of the pitch, whether it's theirs or ours. So we have got to get going in our attack today from the off. From the off. No tentativeness. You need to put out the performance. See, here's the thing that Watford have to do, and I'll read your comments in a moment on YouTube. Here's the thing Watford have to do. They have to start this game the way Charlton started their game against us last Saturday. Charlton came out the traps like gangbusters on last Saturday, didn't they? For the first 5 or 10 minutes, they were up and at it, and they were up and at us. They were really up and at them last week, Charlton, against us. We need to bring that same kind of fire and desire and spirit into the first 10, 15 minutes of this game today at QPR, which is kicking off in about 7 or 8 minutes from now. So that's what I want to leave you with. But before I go, let me read out the rest of your YouTube comments. Brown says, I fear Paolo doesn't have much time to get this right. I want to see at least a decent performance today, says Brown Electrons on YouTube here. Brown adds to that, need Luca to get ugly. Let the opposing center-backs know that they're in a game. Absolutely, Brown. Couldn't agree more. That's what they have to do. That's what Luca's remit is today. No more excuses. He didn't make any excuses, but no more anything. This is it now. You're a striker. And in any language, I know he's from Denmark, but in any language, right? The international word for striker is goals. And this is someone who scored a load of goals in a different environment of football and a different tier of football. And it's a different story when you come into the English Championship. I don't care if you scored 60 goals in the season elsewhere. Your bread and butter now is, as Brown said, is to get ugly out there. Be a mercenary out there. Get mad out there. Fight. Give those center backs, as Brown said, give them the hard time. Let them earn their wage. That's what they've got to do today. Earn your paycheck. That is what Luca has got to do. He's got to earn his paycheck, and he's got to make them earn theirs. So he's got to make that goalkeeper earn the paycheck. The whole team does. So that is where I will leave it here on You Orns pre-match, You Orns Watford FC pre-match live here on YouTube. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel that you are presently watching, and please tell your friends and all other Watford supporters that you know about it, and to subscribe to this channel that you are presently watching. I would really appreciate that very much indeed. Please subscribe also on Substack, youornswfc, the number one.substack.com. I would really appreciate that as well, because look, you're going to start to see a lot of stories from me, news stories, and some videos posted to Substack exclusively, and I wouldn't want you to miss them. Look, I've got one article up so far, but what you're going to end up seeing are a whole load of them, certainly at least 2 or 3 coming up this particular weekend. In fact, during this game, there might be 1 or 2 of them up as well. So please subscribe. You see the link there. You Orns WFC, the number one.substack.com. Would greatly appreciate that as well. So that is it from here. We are now 4 minutes away from Watford versus Queen's Park Rangers at Vicarage Road, the home opener for your Golden Boys in the Championship. I will see you here directly immediately after the final whistle. So please come back to this channel at the very end of the game, as we'll have some more fun here. We'll have some analysis, we'll have some conversation, and we'll also do a live link up with the YouTube, with the with the Watford fans on X as well. We'll do our simulcast, and this time it's going to work because you can obviously hear me today. The audio is on, and let's hope that Watford are on as well. Thank you, Watford supporters, as ever. My name is Omar here in sunny, well, it will be hopefully sunny San Francisco, California in the next few hours. We hope it will be sunny here. Take good care. See you after the chat, Matt, as well, and enjoy the game. That's it for now. My name is Omar once again, and until the end of the game, come right back here. You